Welcome back, family. Welcome back. Welcome back. It is so good to have you again on another Monday, 5 o'clock for Parent Power Hour. I'm your host, William Richardson, alongside, once again, Brother Tyrone, the face of the franchise, and esteemed guest, Miss Jennifer McDowell and Miss Noreen Smith. Family, once again, we're striving to bring you quality information to match the quality of your beautiful children and yourselves as we move forward with another academic school year on the rise. But before we do, family, as we always do, we have a connection question. So the question is, we're going to go to Ms. McDowell first on this one. When you were a child, what did you want to be when you grew up?
When I was a child, I wanted to be an inventor.
All right. Any particular inventions?
So in fourth grade, I invented the automatic clothes folder. It is a third tier to a stackable washer and dryer. You put your washer at the top, the dryer at the bottom, and it falls into this automatic clothes folder. Obviously, I'm not an engineer, so I never created it, but the inventor of ideas is still alive. So any ideas that you want, I'll invent them.
Okay, so Tyrone, so you don't know this, Ms. McDowell, but we do nuggets of wisdom. It sounds like we have a nugget of invention here. So let me write that down, Tyrone, so we can, all right? Excellent. Thank you, Ms. McDowell, for sharing. Ms. Smith, when you were a child.
The superhero. And I feel like I'm living that dream through being a community school site coordinator. Not that you're saving everybody's day, but just that I'm helping everybody to save their day, or as many as I can to save their own day. So I get to, swoop in, with that good cake feeling on and do what I do. So I feel like I'm living the dream.
All right. Thank you for sharing that. For me, I kind of dovetail one of the other occupations that you were talking about, Ms. Smith, a little bit earlier offline. I definitely wanted to be a lawyer, civil rights lawyer. I wanted to be my generation's Thurgood Marshall, for sure, and wanted to just be invested in setting a lot of the rights in our society wrong. So yeah, but family, thank you all for joining us again. Please feel free to enter that in the chat. What did you want to be? What did you want to do when you were a child? And Ms. Smith has actually kind of set the table for us today, family. We're going to be talking about community schools. Maybe you've heard the phrase, maybe you haven't. We're going to get some clarity from two veterans in that field. What are they about? What are their purpose? So we're really glad to have these esteemed guests with us. Ms. McDowell, we'll start with you. What exactly are community schools?
Yeah, so I think of a community school as a school that's really equipped to support students and their families beyond their core academic purpose. And the way that they do that is by bringing on additional partners, resources, and everything coordinated by an additional staff person called a community school coordinator. But the fundamental difference for me is that community schools do school differently, and that shift is around relationships.
All right. Ms. Smith, anything to add before we move on to the next question?
Exactly, Jennifer. It's a community hub, pretty much. It's a place where community members, their community school families can come and get resources to find opportunities that can maybe assist them adding to their lives, or you just even in just assistance like things with BG&E, assistance with things like rental assistance or homelessness if you have issues around that. So, people get the strategic partnerships that we put in place and the resources that we have available to assist students in achievement. It's like a holistic approach to serving children.
And Ms. Smith, you are the community schools coordinator at Cecil?
went out just a little bit. I'm guessing you asked where I do community schools.
Yes, if you were one.
Okay. I'm at Cecil Elementary School, school number 7 with Cecil Proud.
All right. And Ms. Smith, can you explain some of the duties? You kind of mentioned them, but like, what is the range of things that the CSC does in those community schools and for the community? Yes.
Okay. Well, community schools tailor fit for the needs of that particular school. There's a needs assessment that's done so that you can kind of have an idea of what it is the community is requesting assistance with.
Ms. Smith, I'm sorry, we've lost your audio. We're going to try to get that issue corrected, family. Ms. McDowell, can you expound a little bit about that, the role of the CSC and some of the things that you do?
Yeah, so the community school coordinator is the person in a school building that is really connecting families to resources, connecting partnerships to the school, and really shifting the culture and sort of the distributed leadership that is essential to, again, shifting the way a school happens. A lot of people think of a community school coordinator as the person that they go to if they need help. A teacher might go to a community school coordinator if there is a student in their classroom that they perceive maybe experiencing some barrier to learning. They could be hungry, not have the supplies, maybe they've been absent for a while. That teacher can go to a community school coordinator and say, look, can you help me figure out what's going on with this student and how we can support them and their family in getting connected. A family member might go to a community school coordinator and share something that they're experiencing in the home. Potentially perhaps they're moving or they're not moving by choice and they need some support finding long-term housing. Maybe they're looking to advance their own education as adults and want some support identifying resources. But they also can go with opportunities. So someone might come up to a community school coordinator and say, I don't know, I have a grant I want to support. What do you need? And have things to give in terms of time, money, or other resources. So that person can almost be seen as like the receptionist to then divvy up what other resources or supports could be coordinated around the situation.
All right, thank you, Ms. McDowell. Ms. Smith, I'm sorry to have to move from you. Are you back audio-wise?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yes, okay. Yes. Okay, so please continue with what you were saying.
Well, I pretty much was saying the same thing Jennifer was saying. Of those opportunities between parents and then partners or resources that are needed. You're the person, and you're the glue. You know, you're kind of the glue in the building. Because it's not only are you serving, and I call it is service, a position of service, but not only are you serving students, but you're also serving staff, you're serving community, you're serving, you are actually the glue. And again, that brings me back to why I said, essentially community schools are community hubs. So what you're doing and where gaps in services exist, and how to, with the work with community inclusion, how to overcome those issues and how to resolve things as opposed to just fan fires,
Yes. Ms. Smith, let me ask you this. I'm going to come right back to you. Community school sounds like the perfect school when we just hearing the name, and from your description and from Ms. McDowell's description, it would sound like if I'm a parent, I would want my child in a school not only where their academic career is going to be nurtured, but also the things that affect them in real life socially, including what happens at home, can be positively affected as well. But what are the barriers that community schools as a movement, if you will, face in Baltimore City? I'm gonna go to you, Ms. Smith, first.
You said what are the barriers?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. So some of the barriers are just in general, to be honest, after suffering years and years of generational disrespect, on levels in different systems. When you come to someone and now you're another interested person, you're asking the questions and maybe a needs assessment. And really, you're really trying to just get information to know, again, what kind of relationships you can bring in to fill in the trust. And so it's the establishment of people knowing who you are, and understanding what type of relationship you're really trying to build and what you're really trying to do in establishing trust. So it's really that barrier. It's years of generational disrespect and just all of these systems that sometimes, most of them that don't work, or when people do assessments, they don't yield any real results or change. And so people are reluctant to trust you, or they think you're just another try-on solution. And so that's the main barrier. But of course, just like anything else, money is always a barrier as well. Of course, if you have the finances, you'd be able to, not that you can throw money at every issue, but it most certainly would help us to solve some of the, the issues around like bringing in ample enough devices and workshops to assist our students and to assist their parents. So.
Thank you. And Ms. McDowell, looking from where Ms. Smith had us on the school level to a district level, what are the barriers potentially, or actually right now that Baltimore City faces in terms of having more community schools?
So I think there are a few, and one of the key barriers I think Ms. Smith was alluding to is that the strategy is funded by funding a community school coordinator. So that is pretty much the entire investment in the community school strategy in Baltimore. There might be a little bit of programming dollars to go with it, but it's not enough to get at what we're talking about, just the housing crisis in Baltimore. Even as we think about the real need to mobilize food resources, how much effort that took, and the effort to get technology. When you look at the community school strategy in other cities, for example, in Oregon, they've actually aligned city services to the community school strategy. So with 100+ community schools in Baltimore City, nobody's moving DSS offices into schools. Nobody's moving WIC offices into schools. Nobody's moving, MOED outposts into schools. And so it's going to take a real citywide coordinated strategy to actually address the barriers. And I'll say, so this is my 9th year working in community schools with Child First. And every single year, it's the same needs: safe places for children to play, safe streets and neighborhoods, housing. And those aren't issues that a single staff person can actually impact on a grand system-wide scale. You can address some of the symptoms that come up with that. And so for me, the biggest barrier is not aligning city, state, and other resources to the strategy, especially if we're calling it a strategy that should address concentrated poverty.
Thank you. There's a disconnect, and Tyrone and I have interviewed folks from various school systems, from Chicago, New York, Philadelphia. And just as you said, it's the same problems year after year. Ms. Smith, you mentioned the word generational. Both of you are right on point. We're going to go to the hotline now to our family. Tyrone, any questions or comments out there from the family?
We do. So as always, like to shout out some of our watchers: Shakia, Lily, Kim, Megan, Octavia, Kiana, Lawana, Crystal, Joanne, D'Artagnan, Madeira, a few other folks, won't go back up the list to everyone, but you know, we appreciate everyone's viewing. Donita just joined. We appreciate your viewing. Please share with your networks. We do not have any questions currently, but folks, you know we're here. Please send any questions that you may have for our community school coordinators. Make any comments with your experiences at community schools and things of that nature. Put them right in the comments and I will speak them out. I will add, y'all bumped me, but when I was young, because y'all didn't ask me.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's my fault, family. I thought you meant bypass you.
No, I didn't mean, I just said save me for last. I wanted to say it. Do not bypass me with the connecting question. And just interesting sitting here. So crazy how, you know, things kind of go around. I played school every day of my life. Dina, who's one of our regulars on Thursdays, was my younger cousin, and she was a grade under me. I taught her everything I learned. Wow. And I knew, and I was actually pretty advanced in school and, you know, early on. So, yep, I wound up getting Dina skipped. Dina got skipped to another grade because she was advanced in learning things that I had taught her. So I wanted to be a teacher for a minute, and then I seen how much y'all make, and I changed my mind.
That's not cool, man. You know, we do this for the people, okay?
And I know that, right? But that wasn't enough for me at the time. I'm sorry. I wanted a bigger house. I wanted other stuff. But
I understand
what I wanted to be when I was young.
Well, you know, you are very much still teaching.
Absolutely.
Yes. And so we appreciate that you followed that passion and have broadened it. Speaking of appreciation, family, we are averaging about 1,000 views, family. Thank you so much for tuning in, speaking out, sharing the broadcast, giving us positive feedback. Nataki, I don't know where you are, but I didn't hear your name on the roll call. I hope you're okay.
Join.
Just Nataki. All right. Wonderful. So Tyrone, what you said, Ms. McDowell and Ms. Smith, all dovetails to this next question. How could parents find out if their school is a community school? Now, we have two issues. Some schools are community schools and the parents don't have any idea. And then some parents are not a community school. So how can we solidify that knowledge? Ms. Smith, I'll go to you, and then Ms. McDowell. Did you hear that, Ms. Smith? No?
I'm sorry. I totally didn't hear it.
No problem. How do parents... Ms. Smith just sitting there smiling.
I'm just smiling. Just happy. I'm like, is he going to say something?
So the question was, how do parents find out if they have a community school?
Well, usually schools have some kind of community school branding in the front of the school so that you know, or somewhere in the office, or you should see it in the building. It should be something that lets you know. However, and then there are also other things that we do, like we flyer the neighborhood, we do all kinds of stuff. But if for some reason you still are unclear, and you should not be. If you walked into the school, you should know if your school is a community school. And if you speak to any staff member in the front office, you should be able to know that you're in a community school. But if for some reason it's still not clear, you can always call Baltimore City Public Schools and ask. I always say if you're not in a community school, you should call and request that your school be a community school. That's just, I just feel like, it's something, what neighborhood doesn't need it? What the school, so.
Thank you. And Ms. McDowell, is it that easy? Can parents just call and request? Does it work like that?
To become a community school?
Yes.
Not exactly.
In a perfect world, it would work like that. Unfortunately, in the current world, it's linked to grant funding, and the state of Maryland actually passed some legislation determining which schools are required to become community schools. And at present, that's schools with 80% or more students that have free or reduced lunch I think all the way back in 2015, because now everybody gets free lunch.
I was going to say.
Say that again?
No, I was going to say that's most of the schools in the city.
Yeah, actually,
Right.
Baltimore City is direct eligible. So 100% of kids in Baltimore City get free and reduced lunch. But back in the 2015 data, I think someone could correct me on that, you used to have to fill out the application for free lunch. And if 80% or more kids lived in poverty as defined by getting free or reduced lunch, then the state of Maryland has mandated that they become a community school. We're hoping that legislation, actually reduces that number so more schools can become community schools. But unfortunately, at this time, that's the qualification.
Okay. And Ms. McDowell, if I could just follow up, how do parents become part of what you all are doing at the communities, not just your school, but throughout the city?
So this is really important. Sometimes people think of families as the recipients of services for community schools, but families are the reason community schools exist. And it's about partnerships. So if a family member, a parent, an aunt, anybody in a child's life wants to be involved, there are lots of opportunities. First thing I would do is ask who's the community school coordinator. And once you meet that person, you want to find out what it is that is a gift that you have. Maybe you want to volunteer. Maybe you want to even just get more knowledge about what's happening in the school. Make that request. Build that relationship. And the other thing that I've learned in my years is that families know way more than I do about who to go to in times of need, who else has a special skill or a business, or they have relationships that we don't. And so families are critical in actually advancing the mission of community schools. But it all starts with finding out who your community school coordinator is and understanding what's important to you and bringing it to them.
Thank you. So, Ms. Smith, I'm going to go to you, but Ms. McDowell, I'm going to come back to ask you this question because you just kind of spurred something in my mind. Ms. Smith, what is your personal approach to doing exactly what Ms. McDowell talked about? You can't be in office and find out what the needs are of the community that you serve. And sometimes whatever assessment is handed out is not good enough. So what is your personal approach? Ms. McDowell, I'll come back to you after Ms. Smith.
It's exactly as you said. You cannot sit. This is not the type of emails that most certainly need to be returned and sent. But you have to go into the community. You have to talk to the people that you serve. You talk to students. You talk to staff. I personally serve in the neighborhood where I live. So I just happen to know a little bit more about this community. But you just stay in touch with your city. You talk to your councilman. You talk to the people who live here, and you ask, because usually, almost all the time, people may not know the exact questions to ask, but they know what they're in need of. And so you ask that question. And then you follow up by, you respond with what you uncovered, And so that's my approach, just to have conversations and to make sure that I am where the people that I serve am, to make sure that I am very simply and plainly having conversations too. That's the other thing, so that I'm not talking at someone, but I'm talking directly to someone, human to human, and just trying to understand what it is I can do to help you, help yourself, and how that help can be reciprocated. Because, our parents, as you were saying, Jennifer, they're one of our greatest assets. They know everything, about the things all the things that we're looking for. Most of the time, our parents know exactly how to put their finger on the pulse of that in the neighborhood. So my approach is having conversations and being willing to, not even just being willing to follow, but actually then following through with what we discuss.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. And I don't know why, but we heard, I think, 98% of that answer that you just gave us. So I don't know why it's working now, but wonderful. Thank you. Ms. McDowell, your personal approach?
So I'll just say I haven't been a community school coordinator in a couple of years, but what I really relied on was connecting my personal story to the person in front of me, no matter whether they were a teacher or a parent. And, you know, I would tell families all the time, look, I never thought I would be in Baltimore. I grew up in Southern California, first in my family to graduate high school without a child, much less go to college and all of the other things. And so what do you want for your child and your family that you can't even imagine today? And once I understood what was important to the person in front of me, then it's just a question of how can I support you? What's getting in the way of that? My first year, I worked at Holabird Academy, and I remember asking, I also speak Spanish. And so I remember asking all of these families, you know, what do you need? What do you need? And it came up that they, you know, couldn't understand their teachers. So they couldn't help their children with homework, and education was the number one value that they had. And I thought, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the district and demand translation services. And Miss Rosa put her hand on mine and she said, but Jennifer, I've been trying to get a divorce for years and my husband's abusive, but our court date keeps getting pushed back because there's no translators. I don't need a translator. I need to learn English.
Wow.
And so it was a matter of, well, who else do you know that shares that need? Let's organize, let's get a class together, and let's do it at the time that's convenient to you and meets your needs. We don't know who's going to give it right now, but let's set the foundation. So that's my personal approach, and the approach that I think really is at the heart of a community school.
Wow. You know, what both of you all said, if that spirit, if that characteristic, if that aspect of what it is you all have in your mind to do ran throughout the course of this city, from administrators to teachers, from teachers and administrators, we'd have a much, much better place. Because you being from Southern California, Ms. Smith, you being from where you are, the approach is the same. You don't start with answers, you're starting with questions in those particular communities, and then you're moving out from there. It's just wonderful to hear. I'm going to be quiet. Brother Tyrone, you have anything from the hotline?
Yeah. To add, so we have a couple of folks. Well, first got to shout out President Brown, who's joined in and watched us now. Of course, my mother, she's here. Now, Octavia, a couple of other regulars have joined us and everything. But we love when we get resources and people come through with resources. So we have Alice Jones, who shared with us that the Maryland Coalition for Community Schools here, who have a goal of providing a statewide framework for resource sharing, as well as a training and professional development for community school practitioners. They're convening a meeting in July this month on the 16th, where we will share regional updates on community schools across the state and reviewing materials and resources from the IEL Rise Up for Equity Conference. And she left the link to register. I will pin that in our comments and have that, you know, on our live on there. Then we have a question and a couple of questions. Actually, I'll read two of them and let y'all answer, and we'll come back. One is, what are the needs that you are hearing? What are the needs that you are hearing as a result of COVID-19? As you know, as coordinators, and then also, how do we ensure that community school coordinators are from the community?
Can you repeat the second question? I'm sorry.
Yes, no problem. Because this is a lot of people are jumping on this, and this was actually asked a couple of times. How do we ensure that community school coordinators are actually from the community in which they serve? I did hear you all speak about going out and meeting, you know, folks and meeting the community and all that good stuff. But it seems to be a better sense of understanding when someone is from, you know, that community.
Okay, I'll take a stab at whichever one of those you'd like me to.
Yeah, you can take a stab at both of them. Actually, you both can take a stab at both of them, please.
Okay. Well, okay. So I would say that the way that you can ensure that your community school site coordinators from your community is a lot of the times we hope that we're doing our jobs to the point where we encourage parents to start advocating for themselves, where parents are actually empowered enough to be able to step forward and fill positions like this.
I can't hear.
You hear me?
Yeah, went out. The second part, like, you just went out.
I said we're hoping that the schools and even the partnering organizations can recognize homegrown talent and appreciate homegrown talent, and that to me is one way that it could happen, because it doesn't necessarily have to be that somebody's putting someone in your school. It can also be that we have somebody who's very qualified, who can interview and fill this position. So that's one way that we can do it. And the other question was, what was the other one?
The other question was, what are the needs? I mean, yeah, what needs are you hearing about as a result of COVID? Hold on. Number one, I'm so sorry. We're not. I don't want to let me see. Say something else now. Say something again, Ms. Smith.
You hear me?
Okay, number one need.
Okay, that's all you heard.
That's
the
it.
number one need uncovered for us has been technology.
Okay.
Students have had great difficulty in participating in distant learning because of a lack of devices at home. It could be they don't have any, or it could be because they have, it's just the scheduling of them and their siblings to do the distant learning. So that's been the number one thing that we've covered. The other things that, of course, are important have been, like, of course, food. We know that we're right about to step on a serious homelessness issue. And we're about to really step up on that, because we have a lot of parents who were transient even before this occurred. And so we're hearing about parents now having issues with just having stable housing. We're having a lot of mental health care issues that we've been hearing about from both youth and adults, and substance abuse issues. So it's interesting, because the same things that we saw pre-COVID are just times 10,000 right now, with technology at the top of the list, to aid in academics. So that's what I've heard.
Ms. McDowell, could you add anything different to either one of those?
Yeah, the only thing that Ms. Smith didn't say that we hear that's so connected to technology, because folks have come in to fill, to some extent, the gap of technology, but it's internet. The stopgap measure of internet essentials, which Comcast provided to families, is a stopgap. Internet should be a public utility, in my opinion, and especially now as we look at what's happening with the transition to distance learning, high quality internet is going to be critical, and there hasn't been a coordinated plan citywide to address that need for all students. Technology was slow to start, but we're seeing a lot of improvements in getting devices out to families due to partners, a lot of work of city schools and other agencies. I think the Youth Fund funded some technology. Food is definitely a continuing resource. I want to make sure all families know that if you have a child in city schools, you should get pandemic EBT card at $300 and something. But it's going to be mailed to the address that the school has in Infinite Campus. So if you haven't gotten that yet, you want to make sure to check your address, because that is yours whether you need it or not. I'm so grateful for that resource. And the last thing that is coming up is that there was a stay on evictions, but that's not going to last forever. And so we are all predicting unless some, rent relief comes up, that there's going to be a lot of challenge due to the increased unemployment, reduced hours, even the need to be home with your child during this time. That's going to have a long-term impact on the potential for evictions. And like Ms. Smith said, stable housing.
So there was some funding available for evictions, help out that just got like extended for a few more days. And I do also know that people are also asking the governor right now for an extension on. So I say that to everybody: call the governor, call your legislators, and tell them to fight this extension on the eviction until December the 31st is what they're asking for now, for the extension. So please, y'all, get on top of that. Miss McDowell and Miss Smith, parents want to know if their community schools coordinator haven't reached out to them during this time of schools being closed. How do they get in contact with them? They have no way of, a lot of people are saying that they've not heard anything from the school or community school coordinator during this time and have needs. But they say they call schools, don't get answers, especially no type of connection since school officially closed.
Yeah, I would say that if you have not received a phone call from anyone at the school, that there is probably some miscommunication on contact information, because that has been that's been a priority of city schools to make sure that contact has been made. So call the generic city schools number. Maybe Tyrone, it, I don't. And make sure that they hear that you haven't heard anything and that you have needs, and they will connect you. There's actually a hotline that has been populated from city schools to help direct your need to the right resource, whether it's at the school or elsewhere.
Anything else to add to that, Ms. Smith? Okay, we can't hear. I do want to put it out there while we get Ms. Smith.
I can hear you.
Sounds right. That the hotline number for you all parents that want to know, the school number is 410-545-1870, 410-545-1870, and that's the number for the the school hotline. So William, that's it, y'all. Any other questions or comments, team? Again, continue to share. Please ask. Do we want to do announcements now, William, or you have something else that you want to go back to them with before we put that out?
No, I think we can. I did have kind of an off question that we didn't ask, but
well, rock with that.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. So Ms. McDowell, I'm going to come to you. What challenges personally have you faced? And because this is a great work, and I don't think many that know about you, both of your positions, maybe they don't appreciate exactly how important what you do is. So give us a personal challenge where you just had to knock the challenge down, jump over the obstacle in order to continue to make these connections, if you have one. I'm just curious about that.
Ms. Smith, you want to go first, or I can go?
I was actually going to ask you to start to tell me what you said at the beginning, because I just didn't hear it. I'm so sorry.
Personal challenges, Ms. Smith, or
audio, right? Okay. Personal challenges.
Yeah, that kind of kept you, obviously didn't keep you from doing what you needed to do, but maybe was an obstacle to being the best CSC that you could be.
Are you saying post-COVID?
Sure.
Now?
Right now, before, in your career?
Uh-oh. You went right out as soon as your lips.
So what happens is, Tyrone, let me break this down for you, Tyrone, Miss McDowell, everybody. What happens is, in real life, Miss Smith speaks and mutes herself, and that's been the main challenge of her life in the situation right now.
That's her superhero power.
Ah,
On the back. That's her power coming out of her. That's what it is.
There you go. Okay, we can hear you laugh. Go ahead, Ms. Smith.
So one of the greatest challenges, again, this is my first year at Cecil Elementary School, although I've been a part of community schools since the initiative began in Baltimore City. And the hardest thing, the barrier is always trust. It's just that initial coming into the building and having people know who you are and you knowing who they are, and just building that mutual respect and trust. So that's been the barrier, except that, I talk to almost anybody. Also, understanding that I'm a community school coordinator instead of the counselor. Usually I'm so it's also that. It's being new in the school and helping people to understand that, yes, I'm here to assist with resources and with opportunities, but that I'm not the counselor, but I mean, and it doesn't even, I am the counselor, because sometimes we all wear several different hats. But for them to understand that my actual title is community school coordinator. I think that gets lost a lot. That's one of the challenges. And it just makes a difference on the fact that, people don't know how to say, like when we just said, if you haven't talked to your coordinator, you can call and tell someone. Sometimes people just don't know. They just know they need the help. And so not understanding exactly who they're building relationship and what system is actually at work for them at that time, and that it is a community school that's working on their behalf, and the coordinators that's working with them, and that I'm not actually the school counselor, although I can be that sometimes. But that was the main challenge, just building up that relationship and trust with families.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. And Ms. Smith, thank you for persevering and not hanging up.
Oh, absolutely.
And just being like, you know what? I can't. I'm just going to hang up and text my notes in. I don't know. Ms. McDowell, how about you?
I have to rock with you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But that's the value of perseverance. You won't see a community school coordinator hang up for a simple mute challenge. Come on.
Right.
Yeah. I share a lot of the same thoughts. For me, I'm white woman from Southern California, moved to Baltimore. Who was I? But I brought that nature of perseverance in relationship. And then it was structural challenges that really, I think, threatened the work. I worked at John Eager Howard for 5 years, and it merged with the school West Side, which closed. And now, how do you add a school community into your school community without mourning the fact that one of the schools lost their identity? We really pushed to be the first school in the district for 21st Century Schools to change names, because John Eager Howard did not reflect a community of identity for West Side. And so now the school is Dorothy I. Height. Not to mention John Eager Howard was a slave-owning Maryland governor who doesn't reflect anybody in this state, in this city. So that was a personal challenge for me, because I spent, 3-4 years at the time building community in Reservoir Hill, and then having to really stretch and bring in a new community while also recognizing that this community doesn't want to be John Eager Howard. They want their old school back, but still trying to be of service and offer what they deserve, actually. And then another just structural challenge I want to raise is that Madison Park North housing complex was shut down. Families were moved out so that that neighborhood could be redeveloped. Well, what that meant is that families who got such deep connection from their school were no longer near the school building to continue that, and had to go on to other schools in many cases. And so I think a lot of the work is starting over each year, reinventing. This is the point about being an inventor, reinventing the model every year based on changing circumstances in the community, but also in your own life. And so COVID is just another example of how community schools have to reinvent what is school when school is not a building.
Thank you for that. Absolutely. Tyrone, did you have anything else? Any comments from the families, or the folks?
No, well, somebody thinks that Miss Smith is funny. She just said Miss Smith is funny. They got me cracking up.
I do what I can.
People are taking information, this because they're definitely still sitting here watching on multiple pages and multiple groups. So, again, thank you all for continuing to watch. Please share. We have an announcement coming up that is important. We need to get this out to as many parents and allies and people as possible, y'all. So if you haven't already done that already, I see solid like 40 something people on one page and 16 on another one, 4 in this group, 14 on this one. I need everybody to hit share right now and send it out so that we can this announcement that I'm going to make. We need folks to get this information.
And I know I didn't say it earlier, Tyrone, but once again, we're blessed to have, another show where we have people that bring resources with them in the work, from the work, and you are able to see our dear family and parents out there that there are advocates, and I like to use the word heroes that you never, ever have heard of, but are doing their jobs and go above and beyond. Both of, our guests today have attested to that.
Yes.
In the things that they've said.
Yeah. And by the way, Miss McDowell, I was upset when Westside closed. That was my elementary school.
As you should have been, but that's another story.
Right. That's another story. Just said that was one of my, I went to that school. I was a little upset about that. Anyway, so as I stated, you all, I'll go with the parents one, and you all, as normal, regular announcements, you all join us every Monday, and Thursday. Right now, Thursday is Tyrone's house, where we have a more relaxed conversation with parents and teachers and allies about what's going on, and a fun discussion. So Miss McDowell, Miss Smith, y'all definitely welcome to come and join us there. But this Wednesday, you all, parents and allies, we ask that you would please join us. That's July the 15th, 5 p.m. We're going to have a Zoom call. And this Zoom call will not be broadcast live on Facebook. This will just be a Zoom call for us all, and it is about schooling in the fall. This is a space for us to think through our needs, hopes, and demands privately with other parents. This is also a time for us, what we hope to get out of this is to emerge with a set of demands that we want to see happen for this upcoming school year. We will look at what teachers are saying about the fall. We know and we believe that parents and teachers, we have to be like two elephants in a phone booth. As my mother said, that's how tight we got to be. We are the most connected to our kids. So we want to look at what teachers are saying about the fall. We're going to look at what other school districts are doing, okay, around opening up schools. And we're going to discuss what the district is promoting and putting out there so that we can make our own demands for what we want. Again, that is Wednesday, 5 o'clock, a Zoom call right after this. Me and William will do a little video real quick, put it out there again, and the link will be shared on our Facebook page. Message me, inbox me, email me, or whatever. Please share it with another parent, an ally, a teacher. Share with anyone that you know that you feel like should be or would like to be a part of this Zoom call on this coming Wednesday at 5 o'clock, y'all. Like this is important. Like it's important. We need to make and have our demands ready. And as you all also know, share this too. Next Monday, the district will be our guest on Parent Power Hour.
Yeah, I was just, I'm sorry. I was going to say, Tyrone, that this is crucial. Whoever's on now, family, thank you for joining us. But we need for you to make this Zoom call a private, like Tyrone said, will not be live. You know, your privacy will be protected, but we need you to come to that Zoom call. Even if you don't want to appear, you know, you can stop your video so you don't have to be seen, right? You can mute yourself so you don't have to be heard, but we need your questions. We need your demands. We need your thoughts. We need your fears. We need your suggestions to create a formalized document and go forward with that. Not only that, just like Tyrone said, we also need you all back here next Monday.
Yep.
Because the same way you beautifully blew up President Brown last Monday would be to you. We need you to beautifully blow up,
double blow up
this district of official who's coming, because it's a chance for you once again directly to talk to a person who speaks for the district leadership, as Ms. Brown instructively said to us last time. District versus district leadership. Get your questions in, get your answers right on the spot, and maybe not, but at least your questions will be pointed to them directly. And they are beginning to understand that because of you, family, we're beginning to attract quite a viewership. So please, we need you Wednesday, the 15th. And we're going to make a special announcement after the show, 5 o'clock. And then, yeah, I'm going to leave that there. Also, I'm excited to announce August 8th, family. August 8th, 12 p.m. Sankofa School of Excellence, the new kid, the new school on the block, will have a meeting to discuss equity and excellence in education. You can register on Eventbrite. The link is at Sankofa, that's SANKOFASOE, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Once again, that's at SANKOFASOE on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And the Sankofa School of Excellence is founded by current city assistant principal and intellect and revolutionary Miss Nia Berry. We're going to continue to announce this because you all need alternatives to different schools. We can hear it in your comments. We can hear it in your questions. Right here, we have two wonderful community school coordinators who are bringing an alternative sense of community back, I should say, into the fold. To be determined if Sankofa will be a community school or not, but Ms. Berry is going to go over the parameters to see if she is. But even if she's not, even if her school is not a community school in terms of the city, she will be approaching the school and has already approached founding the school in a very community-centered fashion. August 8th, 12 p.m., Eventbrite, Sankofa School of Excellence. Tyrone, anything else, my brother?
No, as always, thank our guests. And I know William was going to get to it, but I want to thank y'all first this week. No, joking. Thank our guests. I love the idea. When I first heard about a community school, I went to Chicago and I learned, a little bit more about community schools, and I kind of got to experience what a real community school could look like, because I hadn't experienced it here in Baltimore for what we had as a community school. So when I got that, when I seen what was being done in Chicago in community schools, like that was like, dude, like it would really be amazing if we really had real community schools throughout, Baltimore City, and folks were doing it. So I'm amazed, and I love to meet, coordinators who actually care and speak the language that needs to be spoken. Believe it or not, I've taught the community school coordinators who's like, this is my job, but they don't say anything about going out in the community, you know, actually connecting with the people, building relationships, because the work can't get done. I mean, Ms. Smith, you said it, trust is a big issue. You know, I'm a parent of city school students myself, and you know, and that it's a big thing when you feel like, you talked about also knowing that you're not a counselor, or you can be a counselor, but that's not the hat you're wearing at that time. Cause like, I don't need all that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just need what I came here for done. You know what I mean? Or like need to hear something. So I love to hear from genuine people, you know, who care and will take the time out and come on and share with us. So like, that's super important. You all could have been doing something else right now. So thank you for, you know, coming and being guests. Thank our viewers and everyone who, you know, who's joined us via Facebook, via group. I love you too, Pastor. Everyone who has joined us from Facebook, again, y'all join us next week. And even before next week, join us on Thursday for Tyrone's house, where me and William will be back again. And just Thursday, you can kick up your big toe and relax.
I just want to thank the family this time, Tyrone, because last week, you know, they asked so many questions. I was like silent for you know, they took over the show. So thank you, family. Thank you for allowing me to do my job this week. No, we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Miss Jennifer McDowell, Miss Noreen Smith, thank you all very much, not only for joining us, but for the crucial work that you're doing in our cities and in our communities. Really, we do appreciate your time. And I'm liking to say this more often, Tyrone, is these guests of ours are volunteering. They're volunteering their time. No money involved. They're just coming here to share. And the thing about this show, the great thing is that if people like Miss McDowell and Miss Smith are not at your school, it should trigger you, family, to say, well, we need a Miss Smith or Miss McDowell. We need that position, or we need this. So that's the beautiful thing about this particular forum, Tyrone, if I will. I want to thank Miss Rebecca, our esteemed producer, who is with us, but not with us. Thank you so much for all that you do. Oh, did we do the personal challenges number she put up here, 410-545-1870?
Yeah.
We did that already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it. Join us Thursday, 5 o'clock, Tyrone's house, where he will do the talking. I will just be doing the laughing as usual on his show. But thank you, Miss Smith. Like you said, Miss McDowell, you all are invited this Thursday at 5 o'clock as well. And
I'll be there.
Good. All right. Good. And with that, I think that's it, family. Thank you so much. Remember, Wednesday, the 15th, we want to see you in the house. Tyrone will be there, not just me. Okay. So don't let that be a deterrent. Tyrone will be there. And it's going to be it's the work, right, Tyrone? This is the work. It's great to, you know, support us on Mondays and Thursdays, but here's the work, family, where you can come in the room exactly, and give us your thoughts, questions, feedback, and let's do this together, because it's not us, it's all of us together. All right, that's it. Happy Monday, y'all. Peace.